Hey, good morning, students. I am Dr. Yuvraj, Associate Professor, Department of Physiology, Meenakshi Ammal Dental College, Hospital and Research. And today's classes we are going to see homeostasis. So the learning objectives. So at the end of the session, the student should be able to define homeostasis and describe the role of various organs in the maintenance of homeostasis and explain the role of both negative and positive feedback mechanism in the regulation of homeostasis, and also state the significance of alteration in homeostasis. So, what is homeostasis? So, homeostasis is nothing but maintenance of constant internal environment of the body. So, the term it was first coined by French physiologist by name Claude Bernard, which is called as milieu interior. And later it was coined by Walter B. Cannon. The term is known as homeostasis. So initially it was termed as milieu interior by the French physiologist, and later the name milieu interior have been changed as homeostasis, which is coined by Walter B. Cannon. So internal environment. What is meant by internal environment of the body? So our whole body. So our human body is made up of hundreds trillion cells, whereas 25 trillions of about RBC and other cells of about 75. Other cells about 75 trillion. So our body is made up of almost 56 percentage of body fluids and 44 percentage of other solid substances. So when you take in part of that is the total body fluids, the ICF, which contributes almost two-thirds of total body fluid weight, whereas extracellular fluid is one-third. In intracellular, the major cation in intracellular component is potassium, whereas in extracellular component, the cation is sodium. So both the intracellular and extracellular component, extracellular body fluids, which play a vital role in all the normal physiological activity. So this could be the normal environment which has to be maintained. It has to be maintained. So coming to the regulation. So the body functions, the entire body functions and the system. So the entire body functions are regulated by the system. So the systems and organs. So the organs are liver, the lung, and GI system, muscles, skeletal, which are all which are all play a major role by providing nutrients. Whereas kidney and skin, which are a major role for removing the waste product and end products like carbon dioxide, etc. So the body functions. So the nervous system, which play important role in sensory and motor, that is nervous system, which play important role in integrating the both sensory and motor functions. And the endocrine system is involved in metabolism. So reproduction is again a important, a major function for continuity of life. So coming to the feedback mechanism, the entire body function, which is regulated by the two major feedback mechanism. One is positive feedback mechanism, and second one is negative feedback mechanism. So what is positive feedback mechanism? So the positive feedback mechanism here, the stimulus enhance the response, which means to say it further increase or further aggravate the action more. Whereas in negative feedback mechanism, it actually the stimulus which will inhibit the response, or we can say it stop further action to the stimuli. So these both mechanisms are very important in regulating our body system. So we will explain in detail with an example what to much more discuss and to clarity about the both negative and feedback mechanism. So example for negative feedback mechanism is maintenance of thyroxine level and oxygen buffering function of hemoglobin. carbon dioxide, which is through respiratory centers, and BP through baroreceptor. So these all those which will be controlled by negative feedback mechanism. So this picture much more to explain about the negative feedback mechanism, that is control of thyroid function. So here what happened, the thyroid hormone, that is T3 and T4, either it increase or decrease. Again, the information goes to the higher centers, that is hypothalamus. It start releasing thyroid releasing hormone. So this information again it goes to the master gland, that is anterior pituitary. From there, there is a information which comes to the thyroid by through thyroid stimulating hormone, and this hormone will be activated and balanced. Either it increase or decrease, which make the normal level of the thyroid. So, which means to say this will be balanced in terms when there is any hormone secretion, either it increase or decrease, only the homeostasis balances to maintain the normal level. Next one is a positive feedback mechanism. The positive feedback mechanism, by definition, I said it will enhance the stimulus will enhance the response or action. So the best example is blood clotting mechanism, uterine contraction during childbirth, and the sodium entry into the nerve cell, which causing action potential. So the best example which is we can say is the uterine contraction during delivery, childbirth. So here what happened during when when the baby hits the cervix, when the baby hits the cervix of uterus, the uterus you have a large stretch receptor, and this stretch receptor is stimulated, and the information goes to the posterior pituitary, where you have the secretion oxytocin, and the oxytocin which will be reached to the uterine, and which will be reached through blood and reached to the uterine through blood and causing contraction. So further contraction, what happen again, the more information goes to the posterior pituitary. So when the information more and more and more and goes to the posterior pituitary, so automatically the more oxytocin will be released, and which in turns to contract the uterine more and more. Uterine contraction will be increased more and more, which may result expulsion of baby will be happening. That could be the best example for positive feedback. The same as I said, the positive feedback, how the impulse, much more impulses reaches to the posterior pituitary, causing uterine contraction, results expulsion of baby. Some of the, apart from harmful effect, some apart from useful effect, there are some harmful effects. The loss of blood. When the blood loss is more than 2 liters, there is a decreasing of venous return. And when the venous return is decreased, which means the venous return, the blood which will reaches to the heart, the cardiac output is also reduced. When the cardiac output reduced, ultimately the BP is also reduced. And also parallelly you have reduced, you can see reduced coronary blood flow and the reduced contractility, and there may also leads to death. Death is due to reduced blood flow, the major vital organs. So which means to say the extreme dysfunction may lead to death, and moderate dysfunction which may lead to sickness. So we need optimal function of this positive feedback. Summary. So summary, coming to the summary, homeostasis, it's the maintenance of constant internal environment of the body, and the major two mechanism which will be carried to maintain the normal physiology of homeostasis, that is both negative and positive feedback mechanism. So the negative feedback mechanism, the best example is thyroxine, whereas positive feedback mechanism, the best example, saturation. So the negative, just remember, negative will always inhibit. Positive is always enhance the response. So which is very easy way to remember. And the example, thyroxine and saturation. So that's all about homeostasis.